Good afternoon. Yes, indeed, it is afternoon, Friday afternoon at the time of doing this recording. Welcome to The Road to Recovery, The Road to Freedom with Mark. This is my 28-minute slot, which I've been doing for many years now. And my main theme, my main topic is the issue of mental health, of my experiences and my sufferings, and I do what I can to at least try to help people that are going through the same thing. And for many of us, now will be the first time that we really have to deal with serious issues of depression, thanks to this plague that is broken out across the world. And I understand that the phones are busy now. A lot of people will be facing the prospect of being unemployed for the very first time in their lives and struggling to find another job, queuing up with thousands of people at a time for a single job. This is going to be really tough for people, and it is a time when we're really going to have to put our shoulders to the wheel, come together and support each other, and that is something that we do not naturally do. In fact, we've trained our children not to. We have trained our children to be selfish, to disregard rules and regulations, and I'm talking about parents just wandering across the street without using a pedestrian crossing with their children. Their children, they see their parents, monkey see, monkey do. Push in front of people, disrespect people, disregard. There was a time when we got down on bended knee and prayed to God for forgiveness, but that's all been thrown out now. And, you know, the church really brought its demise upon itself through the terrible things that it did. But that's not an issue for the show right now. The fact of the matter is that nobody is told to be good anymore. In fact, they're educated not to be. They're educated to be completely selfish and inconsiderate towards other people. To give you an example, after I've done this show, I'm going round to my friend Graham's place and I'm buying a pizza for them. I always do, every Friday, $5. I have never once seen anybody, any of their friends, ever buy them so much as a bean. Ever. $5? Surely you can find $5. Surely. Break bread together. That's how humanity comes together, to show that they care, to engage with others. And that is how a community survives in times of trouble like this. Coming together, cooperating, being selfless, being there for each other, being kind, being considerate. And I have noticed a small amount of that, but I've noticed a total lack of it in society, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that we have swapped religion for capitalism. We now worship the almighty dollar, and the more we have, the more important we are. People who drive flash cars tend to be extraordinarily rude. They'll drive at 80 k's down the motorway, but come the passing lane, boy oh boy, they're doing 110, 120. Back out of the passing lane, back down again. Why? Because they don't want you to pass them. They won't let you pass. Now, not only is that dangerous and stupid, because people get frustrated and they take risks on the straights, try and take gaps they can't. I see it all the time. I spend a lot of time on the motorways and the crazy things that people do. I just think, what drives you to do this? What possesses you to behave so selfishly, so badly? And I think the motor vehicle, to me, epitomises the digression, the devolution of society. Its imminent demise and destruction is epitomised by the car, which is the most selfish thing of all. Not only did it take an enormous amount of irreplaceable resources from the earth to build it, it also pollutes this world and destroys it for future generations. And what's more, it isolates you, physically isolates you You can't hear anyone else. You don't have to talk to anyone else. You're in your invincible little shell where you're never going to die. Until, of course, you whack into a ditch and you find out you're absolutely wrong, and now you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life because you speed and you drive like an idiot. And you've never trained and you've never tried and you don't know what the hell you are doing out on the roads. Hundreds and hundreds of people die on the roads every single year, over 500 people. And the lives that destroys, the mental illness that causes, you know, the way it tears families apart, and yet it barely gets a mention. All we ever do is count the numbers. The more spectacular that crash is, the more likely it's going to end up on the news, because it's titillation for the masses. Oh, 2 babies died. Great. That's what the news wants to tell you. Now, that disgusts me. And the lack of doing anything about it, well, that frustrates the hell out of me, and that's why I'm doing this show, I guess, is because mental illness is not just about something that comes out of nowhere. It's often caused by something. There is some root cause for it. Now, 564 people committed suicide last year. We have one of the highest suicide rates in the developed world, and yet we live in paradise. We have enough food. We have roofs over our heads and warm beds, and yet there's people whacking themselves out. And that is a terribly soul-destroying thing to have to witness. And it has touched the lives of many, mine included. And I came pretty close myself, and the thing that held me back was how much it was going to hurt everyone around me. Not me. I didn't give a damn. I was going to suck a pipe and pull the trigger, no worries. But it's everyone else you've got to think about. It's all those people you love and how much they're going to miss you and how much that's going to hurt. And those are the things that people who are on the verge of suicide need to be told. They need to be told how important they are, that they do matter, that they are loved. And I love them all, even the ones I've never met. I think our society is a wonderful, wonderful place. But I see all these problems and I see that they could so easily be solved with just a little bit. Now, I'm a student of history, so I know that history only ever repeats, and we will make the same mistakes. And if you look at our lack of preparedness, despite my warnings to you, our lack of preparedness and our lack of doing anything, and I'd just like to give you one example. Occasionally I go to McDonald's to have a burger, and they've got hand sanitizer there, and they're trying to keep social distance, and they've got a QV scanner. Now, if anyone can tell me what QV means, I would love to know, because we all speak in abbreviations and no one knows what the F you're talking about, my friend. So don't talk in jargon and abbreviations. English is there for a reason. Words are words, not abbreviations. Please, when you're trying to communicate with me, use words. Okay, so I understand what you are trying to say. Now, we've got sanitizer, we've got distancing, staff are wearing masks and gloves, that's great. And then you touch the EFTPOS machine. And then the next person, and the next person, and the next person, transmitting disease from person to person. All they have to do is spray the damn machine with sanitizer. Okay, please get this through your thick skulls, you people. Doors. Everybody eats burgers with their bare hands. How many wash their hands? None. I sit there and I watch them. I go to the toilet and I wash my hands. Are the toilet seats cleaned? No. The buttons on the cistern after people have wiped their backsides, are they being sanitised? No, 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 no. The handle on the tap, the door out, the EFTPOS machine, every single one of those is being touched by people who have got spit all over their hands. And we know that COVID is transferred through your spit onto your hands and onto surfaces. They mop the floors. They wipe the tables. But they don't clean the doors. If you don't do your job 100% in keeping that place clean, you might as well not bother at all. There are so many holes in the system. Now, I plead and beg with you, to put the pressure on. You can do an email, just like that. Send an email to the manager of every single place and ask them to clean the EFTPOS machines at the bare minimum. This is how we stop transmission, by being super squeaky clean, not by doing a half-assed job. A half-assed job is going to get us all killed. Okay, so we need to wake up and realise that we're only doing half a job at this point of time. And if you actually look, just look with your bare eyes at how filthy those doors are. It'll turn your stomach. And if you did a test on them, oh boy, I'm not even going to say the words. I'm not even going to tell you the diseases that are on that door that you're going to touch today. But boy, are they bad. Oh, are they nasty. And it's not just COVID. There's all these other kinds of horrible, nasty transmitted diseases that people are smearing all over everything without even thinking about it twice. So you need to engage the top 2 inches and make a permanent change. Not just while COVID's on and then it goes away and we all go back to normal. We need to realise that we need to protect each other, all of our society. You need to put pressure on your local MP, on the Department of Health, on the chains themselves to the management. The staff aren't paid to think, and they don't. That's why they're paid minimum wage, because they've got minimum upstairs. But they're very willing and hard-working and good, honest people. And good on them. It's not their job. It's the management's job to make sure that that place is safe, and safe it needs to be. Right, well, that's my little rant for today, and I hope people take it on board. I'd just like to say, being a student of history, I love great orators. And John Fitzgerald Kennedy once said, "Your actions are like a stone thrown into a pond. Your actions radiate outwards like the ripples in a pond, right across the world. Every single little thing that you do affects the rest of us around the world. If you're nasty towards us, it makes it a nasty place, and if you're good, it makes it a good place, and there it is. It's that simple. All we need to do is show kindness and consideration. Say please and thank you and mean it. Do something nice for someone. Just one little thing. Help people. It's not hard, and it's very rewarding, and it rewards your soul as well as them. It makes you happy. It makes me happy when I do things for people, and especially when I get a win-win situation where they benefit and I benefit. That is, to me, the ultimate goal. Okay. I'd just like to say a big hello to everyone up in the Hawke's Bay. Good to have you on board. I hope to get up that way, Hastings and Napier, shortly. I love Ocean Beach. It's a beautiful, beautiful stroll there. And I like to do a little bit of fishing too. You can always snaffle something off there. And my friends in the Wairarapa, this is a beautiful, beautiful place to live. The place is absolutely booming. People are starting to realise what a fantastic place this is to live. And it's good to see. It's good to see people moving here and enjoying it rather than just living cheek to jowl in a massive sprawling city. You know, the Wairarapa is one of those truly golden places to live. Great weather, good people, traffic, not bad at all. And Mount Holsworth, Castle Point, what we have around here is just truly, truly special. And it is a privilege to live in this place. So get out there and enjoy it. And please support local business. It's imperative that you do. Right, this is not just talking about mental health and our problems in society. I also read stories about my life, travels overseas in Africa and Europe, and stuff I did round here in NZ. And the reason I do it is just to show that just because you suffer from depression doesn't make you an idiot and doesn't make you incapable, doesn't make you less in any way. I hope to have a book published, my first book, at the end of this year. I didn't do it till my dad died because I think he disapproved a lot of my writing. And a lot of people do, until they hear it. And then they're surprised and they go, wow, you really can write. You really do have good stories. But up until that point, they normally put me down and disrespect me and say my work is crap and evil and all kinds of things when they've never even read it. So, yeah, hopefully I'll get the book out and show people what it's really all about. In the meantime, you lucky devils get to hear my stories. This is called the Night Porter. When I was 20, back in 1984, I was working in the claims department of New Zealand Insurance Wellington Broker Branch. We were responsible for most of the large companies in New Zealand. All the new Toyotas, rental cars, excavators and trucks in the Bulla coalfields, lime breweries, BNZ, all the big trucks and cranes that were on the roads and working on sites. We were not there to turn down claims. That hardly ever happened. Instead, we were there to get things fixed as quickly as possible whilst minimising the loss to our company. We were very good at what we did, earning a great reputation, and I worked my way up through the ranks very quickly. By 19, I was head of the motor vehicle department, which is a really large, and doing claims on really large multi-million dollar losses, material damage, loss of profits, and onto the cranes and excavators, importing huge booms and parts from England and the USA. I saved the company huge amounts of money with innovative ideas and by employing the best assessors, accountants and lawyers in the business. It was very difficult, not because of a lack of ability, but because of the jealousy of the older guys who hated being pushed aside by a teenager. At 19, I had become the youngest department head in 140 years, but could not expect to join the ranks of management until I was 28. I was a young man in a hurry and just couldn't wait. I lived hard and I played even harder. The booze culture was at its height in those days, and we all drank ourselves to oblivion. From whiskey in the bottom drawer of the office desk to wine and beer for lunch, then steak and booze all night, virtually free, limitless booze, upstairs on a Friday night, a never-ending party, with no thought of the future. In those days it was all about fine suits, great restaurants, halls, booze and making money on the stock exchange. The very first yuppies of New Zealand. Despite relative success and a cushy life, I was stuck in a rut. There was just no way I could wait 8 or 9 years to truly progress. The alcoholism simply exacerbated the situation to a life of excess. True, I was having a great time, flatting with my mates, Seedy, Rookie and Wayne. We lived in Highbury at the top of Te Ara Road, and I caught a bus and cable car to work. None of us could cook. We never had any food in the flat, but we had a wild time, and our friendship grew even closer. When I turned 20, the company sent me down to Outward Bound in Anakiwa in the Queen Charlotte Sounds. The night before I left, the boys got me wasted and cut my hair. I was too drunk to realise they took great chunks out and butchered the job. On the way to Anakiwa, no one would talk to me, as I looked like such a mad thing. Outward Bound was like nothing else I've ever experienced. It pushed me way past the limits I thought I had and helped to transform me into something exceptional. I knew there was just no way I could continue with the life that I was leading. Not long after that, we were having a few jugs down at the St. George in Willis Street. We got to talking about the 81 Springbok Tour and how pissed off we had become that the sport had become a political pawn for every disgruntled a-hole in the country. How our lives had become less than what we needed them to be. Seedy was at Vic Uni, about to finish his degree, studying hard and working as a night porter at the Burma Lodge. I spent a lot of my spare time at uni playing rugby, boxing, going to lectures and concerts and parties. The end of year, pub to pub, the pub crawl, was legendary, and we got ourselves into a lot of trouble. But we knew very soon all of this had to come to an end. One jug led to another, and all of a sudden Seedy came out with it. It was time for us to end our lives in Wellington and go on an adventure. He proposed we go to Australia, then on to Southern Africa to follow the Cavaliers tour, and on to the game parks in Vic Falls. That would take about a year and a half. Then on to London, work for 7 or 8 months, then tour Europe in a combi van. Ever since I was a child, I had felt the call from the majesty of Africa and my spiritual home of London. So I shook Seedy's hand and promised on my soul that we would see it right through to the end. We spent the rest of the afternoon drinking and nutting out exactly how we would achieve our lofty goals in such a short time, just a year. It soon became apparent that it all came down to how much dough we could raise, and that I wasn't earning enough. We came to the conclusion I'd need a second job, but all was doable. So the next week, I got a job cleaning the bank down the road from my work 5 nights a week. I worked with a team mostly consisting of islanders who found it strange a guy who wore 3-piece suits during the day was happy to vacuum floors, empty bins and scrub toilets at night. I wasn't bothered in the slightest. It was honest money and I couldn't spend dough working. In our flat in Highbury, the only decent food we had was steak that Seedy flogged from his job at the Burma Lodge at Johnsonville. He offered to get me a job there as a night porter on the weekends. I had no transport in those days, and Seedy and Wayne only had motorbikes, so Seedy taught me how to ride his Suzuki 250cc trail bike so I could get to and from work. I would only be riding at night and dawn, so I didn't bother getting a licence, and my riding was pretty dodgy. But it was damn good fun. I was making a fair bit of dough, and cashing in on the stock market, which was really cranking in 84-85. Pretty soon I got promoted to supervisor at my cleaning job and started as a night porter at Burma Lodge, which meant I was working 5 days and nights, then all night Saturdays and Sundays. The alcoholism was out of control by now, and I soon worked out a way to get the cleaners to do all my work while I went down to the pub to get pissed and get paid for it. The other cleaners got extra hours, so were happy to do it, and they did such a good job I even managed to swing a pay rise for them. The night porter job was a complete farce and wouldn't have been allowed in these politically correct times. I was expected to run everything all night alone, answer the phones, man the reception and keep the whores out, cook food, clean up after weddings and deliver newspapers and breakfast. The place was huge and it was impossible to do all the work required, even in 12 hours without a break. But I had no intention of towing the line anyway. As night porter I had full access to the place. A full commercial kitchen with walk-in freezer, chocker full of steaks and other great food, plus 2 bars full of every spirit imaginable. Seedy and I worked on alternate nights and had a great time living on late-night steaks and booze. The expectations of us were not too high as the place was pretty poorly run, so we got away with a fair bit. All that work took its toll, and the rides home on Seedy's trail bike were treacherous. On a couple of occasions I accidentally took a corner at the top of Nowronga Gorge too tight and went flying off some guy's driveway. To avoid smashing into his garage door, I had to jump the bike off the side of the driveway down about 5 metres to the road. The impact was so hard I ended up doing a handstand on the handlebars, but managed to regain my balance both times. I was soon so exhausted by the relentless work that I could hardly sleep anymore. Instead I took to riding down to Oriental Bay on Sunday and Monday mornings and watching the sun come up. Sitting on the concrete wall above the beach. Mondays were worst. I would work all Sunday night, watch the dawn come up, go home, shower and dress, then go to work at New Zealand Insurance. I would then do 4 hours cleaning, or drinking and supervising when I could, then go home and crash. I was so far beyond tired that I knew there was no way I could keep all this up. Something had to give. The only really peaceful time I had was when I was wandering around the old Karori Reservoir, smoking dope. In those days it was run down, disused and overgrown. No one ever went up there, and it was great to have a little peaceful time to myself, getting stoned and walking around that spooky old place. They've now turned that place into a wildlife sanctuary, and I'm so rapt to see the old place have a new lease of life. The boys and I had a wild time in the Eagle's Nest, our old flat, high up on the top of the hill in Highbury. We'd get drunk as lords and bang away on anything we could find, singing rude and noisy songs. The poor woman downstairs would stand on her table and bang on the ceiling with a broomstick in a vain attempt to get us to shut up. After that, she tried bribing us with chocolate cakes. That did the trick. I had my 21st up at the Eagle's Nest. I wasn't in touch with my family much anymore. My dad had told me to F off when I was 17, so there was no celebration with my folks. All I had was my mates, my brothers, and we had one of the wildest weeks a man could ever have, the 21st to truly remember. Wayne and I bought a Suzuki X7 250cc motorbike from an army mate of Wayne's. It was more stable than Seady's trail bike and was fast as lightning, capable of 100 miles an hour, and could corner on the exhaust pipes with sparks flying out the back. How I didn't kill myself on that thing I'll never know. I did go off the side of Tiara Road, saved the bike, but got a piece of wood through my lower leg which laid me low for a while. Near the end of my time at the Burma Lodge, I met up with Billy T. James one night when he was doing a gig at the bar next door. We had a smoke outside the bar during his break, and he couldn't help but continue to crack jokes and laugh in that crazy way he did. Hell of a nice guy. I think we all miss him now. I was so young, strong and fit in those days I could run marathons. But as fit and determined as I was, even I couldn't abuse the body and mind without crashing at some point. One night I turned up to the Burma Lodge and was given an impossible load of work to do. They had a big wedding there and some rooms were in a hell of a mess. I ripped into it, drinking leftover wine as I went. After 4 or 5 hours I gave up and went down to the kitchen for a steak, then got stuck into a bottle of whiskey at the bar. I got wasted, then headed back to clean up what I could. But it was a bridge too far, and about 4 in the morning I simply sat down at the main table and passed out right where I sat. They found me unconscious in the morning, and the manager sacked me on the spot. It was such a relief. Even although I didn't manage to keep going all 3 jobs till June, I still managed to save up enough dough for our adventure. I didn't have to work again for another 2 years, and me and the boys had the wildest of journeys, which spurned so many great stories and made us the greatest of friends. We will indeed be so for the rest of our lives. Well, that's me for another day. Got to fly, my time is up. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Wairarapa TV, Michael and Veronica especially, and all the sponsors who keep this thing going. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.